Hey, good morning, Year 10. Probability Lesson 2 today. It's the 6th of May 2020, and Lesson 2 is all about continuing the work we did yesterday. So we're looking at the probability that something happens is the ways it can happen divided by the total number of events. So it's the ways it can happen divided by total number of goes or total events. Now, just like yesterday, we're going to work through, you're going to do some different questions, but today you're going to take it one step further. So once we've got to that stage, you're going to start to look at using a probability line. Now remember, a probability line goes from 0 at one end down to 1 at the other end. So when we're doing this, you might want to draw this out in your books. Okay, I'm just making sure I get the same number of squares each side. So I've got 0, I've got 1, and in the middle I've got 0.5. There's some key words we need to associate with this. Obviously for 0, something's impossible. If it's 1, it's certain. And if it's 0.5, then it's evens. Now as we start to put our probabilities into order, we can start to work out where things would go. So for example, the probability of flipping a coin in the air and getting a tail is evens, it's 0.5. The probability it will rain sometime in the next month in England is pretty close to certain. The probability that Coventry will win the Premier League this year, well, that's impossible because we've not yet graced the Premier League with our appearance. So we can start to use this number line to put different probabilities on, and as we work through, we'll look at that. So for example, the chance I'll win the lottery, somewhere down near impossible. Okay, if I get a spade from a pack of cards, well, it's going to be somewhere down here, depending on how many spades there are and how many cards. And so what you've got to do in some of the questions today is arrange these things in order. So I'm just going to do an example of 4 different things. So I'm going to have 4 different events. We're going to have even on a dice. We're going to have an ace from a pack of cards. We're going to have the probability that it rains today. And finally, we'll have the probability that 2 people in our class share a birthday. Okay, so the easiest thing to do for some of these is to write down the different probabilities we have. Well, even on a dice, we could have a 2, a 4 or a 6, so there's 3 different ways out of 6, and I'm going to do numerator divided by denominator to give myself a decimal. Makes life a little bit easier for us. My next one, I've got the ace from a pack of cards. Well, when I do the ace from a pack of cards, there's 4 aces out of 52 cards altogether. Now if I use my calculator, I can do 4 divided by 52 and I get myself a decimal of 0.077 going to 3 decimal places. The probability that it's going to rain today, well, forecast is looking pretty good, so the probability it's going to rain today I think is pretty small, but we are in England, so I'm going to estimate around 0.1. And 2 people sharing a birthday in our class. Well, if you do a bit of research on those things, you can find out that with 23 people in our class and me, the probability that 2 people share a birthday is about 0.3. So then I can start to arrange these on my probability scale up here. So the least probable, and because we've got 3 decimal places everywhere, I'm going to change them so they've all got 3 decimal places. The least probable is B. It's going to sit somewhere around here. My next least probable is C, again, still quite low. 2 people sharing a birthday, D, somewhere up here. And last but not least, my evens on a dice is there. Now depending on whether it's a theoretical or experimental probability, might change this. So here, my evens on a dice is a theoretical probability, and this one is, whereas these are more experimental, we'd have to kind of work it out over time to see. And you can place those on the number line, and that's the key bit today alongside what we did yesterday.